Friends, welcome to the first ever episode of Love in the Ledge, which is a complete crock of shit because this is not the first ever episode. I don't even know what episode this is. We've been doing this for a while, but this is the first time we're going live. And this is probably the first one we're going to upload because this might be the episode that gets us sent to the funny farm and or prison and possibly deportation. I'm your host, Jeff Walliner, and I'm here with the great, the one, the only, Jules Verne. Jules, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, Jeff. It's just been a hell of a fucking week. A hell of a fucking week, my friend.
Heard a little bit of it backstage. And just so you know, this show is about falling madly and deeply and truly. And this is like a late 90s boy band song now, but we're falling deeply in love with the ledge. Now, what is the ledge? The ledge is where my friend Jules is sitting right there. The ledge is that place that exists between life and death. And it's that place that life is using to try to get to death. When life says, you know what, I'm done. We're good. I gave it the office. Let's get the hell out of here and go home. Let's beat the traffic. The ledge is the way to get there. A lot of people have taken the ledge through a lot of different means, but we're just going to use that metaphorically for this show. Now, a lot of people say the ledge is bad and this, that, and the other. This is a show that is about falling in love with being on that ledge, talking about what got you to that damn ledge, and talking about how to just be in that feeling that got you there. Jules is coming to us right now from the ledge itself. Jules, I would love for you to kick this off by telling everybody, well, this week, you've been there for a while, but what got you to the ledge this week?
This week there was a lot of drama around work. You know, work is what it is. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people aspire to never do it again, but it's what we all got to do for one reason or another. So something you work for a long time at, you get good at, whether you love it or not. I kind of like what I do, and I'm kind of good at I'm very good at what I do, but not to brag just because I've been doing it so long. Any would be pretty good at it at this point. So there was a conflict at work about some financial matters, financial stability, long-term sustainability. You know, can we keep doing this? Are we going to do this? Isn't working? You know, I don't own the company. I shouldn't be involved in any of these discussions. I'm just a worker drone. I do what I got to do. Like I said, I do it well. But I was forced into a rock and a hard place situation because two of the people that were should have had the conversation, they dated a long time ago, something in the area of 2+ decades ago. And as a result, they won't talk to each other. So they decided I had to be the one to have this horribly uncomfortable conversation.
I know where you work and I know who these people are. And let me tell you, I wouldn't want them having a conversation about what kind of bagels to get in the morning, much less financial matters involving a company.
You know what? I'd rather them talk about anything. It's not going to go well. Just I'm not one of those people. You know, I don't have the gift of gab like you do. It's just, yeah, it's not my bag.
Let's just say a quick hello to Jen Lynn, who's with us from Texas. Jen Lynn, hello, my friend. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Jen. So anyway, I'm not one of those long story short people. I should be, but I'm not. I try. I get off on tangents. So there's a lot of work drama, and long story short, not so short at this point, but yeah, I might lose my job this week. So that was a fun little thing. It's still ongoing. I'm sure it's not going to end well, just because that's the optimist that I am.
I hear you.
That was Monday, and Tuesday, I have to take care of a disabled parent. And there were some issues with that, and the issues were beyond bizarre. It's just a very strange and complex experience, and it wasn't enjoyable, and other people involved, and there were accusations thrown around, and accusations involving staff, involving me, all kinds of things. Nobody was happy. Nobody was spared from the fallout. So
what kind of accusations are we talking about? Let's get in the nitty gritty over here, because obviously this is taking you to a place right now. Let's dig into this, and anybody who's watching the show wants to chime in. Let's open this up. Let's have a conversation.
Improprieties with myself and the staff, which did not happen. Staff negligence, which may or may not have happened. You know, things. People don't always do what they're supposed to do, unfortunately, in life. Just a lot of wild stuff. Did I sleep with a staff member? No, I did not. Did a staff member not perform a necessary medical procedure? Maybe, maybe not. But the staff member was did not appreciate that, and of course, there's going to be fallout because it's like high school. They, one tells the other one, "Oh, did you hear what that one did? So now we have to be mean to that one. It's mean girl rules."
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was a candy scandal because that's all I know from Look Who's Talking. The bastard stole my candy. I mean, that is my entire experience. Thankfully, to this point with these facilities, was it a candy situation? Or are we talking about something else?
There has actually been a candy situation in the past, but this is not that. No, I would have preferred it was a candy situation. No, that was Tuesday. By Wednesday, I was not okay. I was not that I had been okay in a long time, but I was exceptionally not okay. And by Wednesday, I was shaking like a chihuahua. It was not good. So just having a cup of tea, trying to get myself together, and I notice on the ring cam that someone's rung my doorbell, and that's very unusual. Where we live, people don't answer the doorbell unless they're expecting somebody. So I check on the ring cam. I check on the ring cam to see who's there, and it's an armed police officer with gun in holster. I'm not gonna sensationalize it. The gun was in the holster, but it was in view. Handcuffs and a big, beautiful badge. So, needless to say, I at that point evacuated my bowels because what does one do at that point? And just after the snowball effect of one thing after another thing after another thing after another thing, you could deal with the daily stuff for a long time, and it won't push you over the edge. But then when things go to that next level, it's like, what do you want from me? I mean, I feel like you're really, really testing me to the point now. Like, what do you want? I got nothing left. What do you want from me? What do you want? Tell me what you want.
It's like the My Cousin Vinny moment, like you were saying back in the green room. Is there any more shit we can pile on to the top of this case? Is there any more?
That's exactly it. Is there any more I could pile on? My car's stuck in the mud. I can't get a suit except the funky one from the thrift store from the 1800s. The judge hates me.
To fight me for $200.
Yeah, the judge hates me. The train whistle and the owls wake me up every morning at 3, 4 a.m. What do you want? I don't sleep. And, going back to myself for just a second, I don't sleep. I have a tremendous problem with sleeping.
You just say hello. You say hello.
Hello.
Hello. You still say hello.
That reminds me of a movie with what was his name? Dudley Moore from the 80s. There was a character. No, I didn't like Arthur as much as I liked the other one. Dudley Moore got sent to an insane asylum for having a nervous breakdown, and there was a character there. All he could say was hello. Very nice person, but that's all he could say. Hello.
Now here's a concept.
Sure.
You want to talk about walking people back off that ledge. Here's a piece of entertainment that is absolutely foolproof. You ready for this?
Lay it on me.
All right. You got them up there debating, do I stay, do I go, whatever it is. You put an iPad in their hand and you have a creation. The guy who only can say hello, great callback with the guy from Look Who's Talking, the orderly Bill, who only knew how to say no problem. This is the entire show. You got one guy who says hello, another guy that says no problem. That's all they can say. That's literally it. And it goes, hello, no problem. Hello, no problem. That's it. That's the entertainment. That you tell me who's jumping if they're watching that. Not this guy. Not this guy. I'm telling you, straight up, it's not happening. That's enough. For you, I don't know.
I think I'd give it a shot.
I know that you and I, we know this ledge, I'd say better than most. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I feel that's definitely fair to say. We've always shared a very long-term kinship with the ledge, with each other, with a an ability to have a dialogue about it, which most people do not want, do not allow for one reason or another.
And that's ultimately why we created this show. So for all watching, the reason this show even exists is because Jules and I have had this dialogue now going on for just about 18 years, I'd say.
Yeah,
And, we've talked to a lot of other people who wish they had someone in their life who they can have this conversation with the way him and I have with each other, which is it's raw, it's honest, it's brutal, it is 100% non-judgmental. It's just seeing them right where they are and being able to talk about it without fear of institutionalization, without a fear of being looked at like you're nuts, even though, let's be honest about it, between you, me, and the wall and everybody else, you and I aren't exactly normal. But what the hell is normal anyway? And it's been a refuge that we've had on these moments on the ledge. So what we're trying to do here ultimately is just bring this conversation out to the world, and anybody who's there with us, just know you got two schmucks right here, no matter what you're going through, no matter what you're feeling. If you want to stay, you want to go, doesn't matter to us either way, honestly. We're going to love you either way. We're going to send you that love from that ledge that you're on right now. And you can share anything you're thinking with us on this live stream, always. And no matter what, we're not going to judge you. We may laugh and we may say a lot of inappropriate shit. In fact, we absolutely will. But we will not judge you. Jules, what do you say?
hey, I'm right there with you. You know what? People need to be able to talk about this because I think it's. I don't think it's an exaggeration for me to say, at least for myself, that if I hadn't been able to talk about it with you for all these years, I probably wouldn't be here. I think that's a very accurate statement.
Same. It was actually, this really began, I would say 18 years ago. We were on a flight to Vegas, and we joke about this flight a lot, and the entire week was an absolute disaster. But we're flying out of New York, and we're on the first row of a JetBlue flight, back when you didn't have to pay a $8,000 upcharge for it. So the two of us, we popped a couple of Xanax. I managed to sweet talk the flight attendant into getting us a couple glasses of wine. I had more hair back then. It was more effective. And so we're taking off about 9 o'clock in the morning, mid-July. And as the plane is banking, we're loopy as hell. I mean, we're in a different planet. But we're banking really, really hard. There's some storms out in the distance, so we're banking real hard to avoid it. And as the plane is banking, it almost looks like we're coming straight into the buildings down below. Needless to say, this is 6 years after 9/11. A couple of New Yorkers on a plane coming into buildings, not a great visual. And yet, him and I were in such a place, we were looking out the window, laughing our asses off, hoping the plane crashed. Remember that?
I certainly do.
And it wasn't just a hope. It was a, come on, plane crash.
Come on.
No dice. We do. Some guys have all the luck, right? As it turned out, it banked and then it straightened out, and up to 33,000 feet we climbed, and off to Vegas we went. But that was the first time in my life. And it wasn't ironic either. And you and I are ironic guys. But remember that there was no moment of irony. It was, please don't make it, please.
We're okay with it.
We were. I mean, we were both in a place in our lives for different reasons, but they conspired to bring us both to the ledge. And we were young. We were young guys. We were in our 20s. It wasn't, and we weren't like in the zone in your 20s when people are usually on that ledge. Where you're like in your early 20s, and maybe you just you're gonna hold up with video games all day, and this is before Reddit and before you can get radicalized and whatever. This was just back when kind of that like almost that male emo phase. We weren't there. We were in like our mid 20s at that point. And we were already working, and, we had a little bit of money, and we were kind of like on our way and doing our thing. But the thing we were doing was so far off course from the thing that we wanted to do and the life that we wanted to live. Like, you know what? If this damn thing goes down, I can't think of anything better. because the idea of going back to that on Monday, nah. Someone cut the engine, take this damn thing out. Let's call it a day. I think back to it now, and I'm so glad I was sitting next to you on this trip because, first of all, I needed to vocalize that to somebody, and it wasn't going to be the flight attendant because they were going to land the plane and put me in cuffs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, imagine that, right? Imagine you're sitting on the plane, and you look at the flight attendant and you say, wouldn't it be great if this plane crashed into that building?
Yeah. That's not going over well.
Tell me how that one's going to be working out for you when you're in federal prison 20 years later.
Be in some deep, dark hole you'd never see the light of day.
I'd be in some black site in Eastern Europe, probably.
Yeah.
Probably still be there. But I'm damn grateful that you were there, sitting right next to me, as loopy as I was, looking at that same window, having those same thoughts. And we just gave each other a look with that. It was an unspoken understanding of, yeah, you know what? That would be the preferable way for things to go right now. That would be it. And we kept that energy the entire trip. And yet, this is where I think the essence of loving the ledge is. We were on the ledge the entire trip out to Vegas. And if you were with the crew that we were with, you would understand you'd probably be close to that ledge yourself. And yet, we had a great time. We had a great freaking time, didn't we?
Absolutely. Very good time. Yeah. I remember the whole thing very fondly.
What jumps out to you from the trip? What are the moments you remember? Like, you know what? This was great despite the fact of that ledge being kind of our resting energy heading out
there. The camaraderie, the food, it was a good bonding experience. It's a good time. Good times that comfort you on those really bad nights.
The interesting thing was we were with and this is not unique to us. Most people who are in the situation, if they're lucky, if they're really lucky, they got the one person they can talk to about it, if that. But they sure as hell don't have the whole crew.
No.
And could you imagine one of those jackals having this conversation with just one of them?
No, not at all.
I think about this trip a lot because, I mean, the trip itself wasn't all that memorable. We've had more memorable Vegas trips, and we're not going to get into that.
No, sir.
That will be for future episodes. It did involve a subsequent restraining order.
I forget. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, legit. I'll choose my bachelor party. Go figure. I mean, a bachelor party is no fun unless a restraining order follows. Am I right? I mean, come on.
Yeah,
Come on. We were banking so hard on this trip, on the way out there, and we got there, and yet, I'm saying this to anybody out there who is on that ledge tonight, and if they make it through tonight, you're going to get to tomorrow. Sequentially how it goes, but if you are in tomorrow, just because your resting state says, I'd rather I not have woken up today, it doesn't mean you can't have a great day, even in that resting space. The two can exist at once.
Sometimes they do for quite a while. It's not something you just shake off.
Yeah, it's not a transient thing. I mean, how long would you say, like realistically, that you've been sitting up on that ledge, Jules? How long has it been for you, like uninterrupted?
Since 2007.
18 years.
Yeah.
18 years is a hell of a long time to be up on that ledge. And I'm right there with you. 18 years. It ebbs and flows like all things. It's never. This is the best way I describe it. Tell me what you think. I describe it like a pot of boiling water, and the heat's always on. Now, it varies between just being on like a little simmer or, a normal boil or a roiling boil or over the top boil. Like the heat fluctuates, but the stove is always on. The burner is always going.
Always. Yeah. I would say you're always on the roof, but you might be near the door to the roof. You might be near the ledge. You might be sitting on the ledge. You might be on the tippy toes on the ledge, but you're always up on the roof. That's how I think of it.
You're always there. And I think depending on how close you are to the edge, the gusts of wind that are the circumstances of life will either blow you closer to the ledge or
Yes.
blow you off the damn ledge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where would you say you are right now on the roof?
I would say this was a cartoon. I probably have one pinky toe on the ledge.
And the rest is just kind of.
The rest is just dangling. Yeah.
I appreciate that we have a potential gargoyle in the house.
The ledge gets very familiar. You do become a gargoyle. You get familiar with it, and just this is where I perch. This is where I live.
This is my spot. You know, I had a roommate freshman year of college. The guy was an actual neo-Nazi. Now, I'm not talking about like, you know, the people who are like accused of neo-Nazis with just like some like, you know, random jerk off in his basement. I'm talking like a real, actual, bona fide, had the copy of Mein Kampf in his hand, neo-Nazi. And my idea was to decorate the room and all kinds of interesting things. And I wanted to have a gargoyle that was put in the room. And I thought it was funny. And we had a suite mate of ours from next door come over. And the suite mate was a diehard Catholic. And his idea was like, the gargoyle's great. You know, the church uses gargoyles all the time. And so the neo-Nazi looks him right in the eye and said, gargoyles are sacrilegious. It's like, you know, that really hardcore Midwest accent. Like, you know, gargoyles are sacrilegious. And my friend says, what, the Catholic Church is sacrilegious? He said, it's not just sacrilegious, it's demonic. You're demonic. Get out. I said, no, he's staying. I looked him in the eyes. No, he's staying. We're going to hang out for the night. But if you don't like it, you can leave. And anyway, that's a weird tangent. But yeah, so that's my gargoyle story. We never end up getting one, which was quite tragic, actually.
One day you'll get your gargoyle.
I think one day I'm going to get my gargoyle. But I got one, though. I got the friendship of Jen Lin.
There you go.
My gargoyle. What else do I need? Jen Lin is my gargoyle. I got you.
Go. There you go. You found your gargoyle.
I found my gargoyle. And thank the heavens for that, because I've been searching for a long time, buddy. A long time for my gargoyle. And, you know, you sit on that ledge long enough, don't you feel like you almost become kind of calcified on it? You almost become like part of the furniture after a while?
Oh, yeah. The ledge is part of you. You are the ledge, and the ledge is you.
You become one with it. It's almost like you can't even comprehend what life would be like anywhere else after a while.
No. Your brain kind of rewrites itself just to be ledge-based.
It does. And then, you know, the interesting thing is when you have those good moments and those inspired moments and things are really cooking and you feel like, okay, I got it. You look around and you realize you're still on the damn roof. And that's a very interesting thing, isn't it? Like you're still on the roof. You may not be on the ledge, but you realize if a Category 1 hurricane blows through here, I'm toast.
Yeah. Yeah, there's certain days. I know when the days are better. I could tell. The days are in high def when they're better. You know, the colors are more vibrant. Bird song is kind of nice rather than being extremely irritating. You haven't slept all night. It's the worst thing in the world. So, you know, the colors are good. Sounds are pleasant, or they're just there and they're not disturbing. You know, it's very different when you have those non-ledge days. Like I said, you're still on the roof, but you're not on the ledge. The world is definitely different, and you just go with it. You enjoy it, but in the back of your mind, you know, well, this is nice. This is probably going to be the one nice day for the next 3, 5, 6 months, but I'm going to enjoy it for now. I'll take it for what it is.
Yeah, and it's interesting because your mind gets locked in this pattern after a while where it's, you know, I know that if the Category 1 hurricane blows through, I'm out. And, you know, most people don't think that way if they are lower in the building. You know, they're like, I'm more grounded in the building, and I'm on the first floor or second floor. Like, yeah, a window might get blown out. That wouldn't be great, but I'm going to be okay.
Yeah, I'll be fine.
you're on the roof. You're cooked. That's it. I mean, there's, and yet, and this is where the interesting thing comes in. Tell me about a situation where you've been through this. Maybe it was the same one that I've been through, because we all went through it 5 years ago. If you had told me, dead ass, in 2019, and you looked me straight in the eye, and you said, okay, this is what's going to happen in 2020, and you broke it all down for me, like piece by piece by piece. Whole world's going to shut down. We're going to go bananas. We're going to turn on each other. It's going to be like a Twilight Zone episode where we're looking for the alien, and everyone's going to absolutely lose their mind in a fit of fear and hysteria and polarization. It's going to go bananas. And the things that you love the most in this world will be taken from you. Traveling will be taken from you. Going to live events will be taken from you. Speaking at live events will be taken from you. All the things that you do to get through this life and enjoy the time you have dancing around on this roof, they're all going to be gone. And it's just going to be a year of being locked in your apartment. I would have said, that sounds fantastic. Sign me up for that leap. Sign me up. The minute this thing comes out, not sticking around for this shit. What, are you kidding me? Really? I'm on the ledge before all this. You're bringing this to me? That was the Category 1 hurricane, and yet somehow I found a pole to hang on to up there, and here we are. How the hell did that happen? I still don't know. How did it happen for you?
Yeah, I don't exactly know either. I just think I was so preoccupied looking after friends and family, dropping off supplies, making sure they had what they needed, making sure everybody was okay, that it kind of pushed that ledge out of my head temporarily.
So let's talk about that. I think that's an important point you brought up. It's like how do you get back from it? And it's a post I put up on LinkedIn a day or two ago, and it was all about the flow of energy, right? And energy is always in motion, and energy wants to flow. Energy has to flow. It's the nature of energy. And the suicide prevention industrial complex is based on the idea of bottling up that energy. It's that, okay, if you're on the ledge, it means your energy is not flowing. That's what it means. It wants to flow. It wants to flow into this life that you're living through, this body and this sense and this character. It wants to flow out through this avatar, but it can't. It feels blocked. It feels stuck. So all the ledge is saying, hey, if I take the leap, if I get the hell out of Dodge, if I leave this body behind at the coat check and I move on, my consciousness moves on, I'm free. I'm free of the constraint. I'm free of the box. I'm free of the living coffin that this is. And I get to flow again, because that's all I want to do. I want to flow. I'd love to do it in this body, but it ain't working out. Let me flow in a different type of setting, whatever that may be. Simple as that. But we did not allow the flow to happen at different parts of our life for a lot of different reasons. Trauma, circumstance, a lot of different things, structural things, a lot of reasons that we were not able to flow. But when everything was going to hell around us in 2020, interestingly enough, we found a way to flow. I remember you were, I'm going to kiss your ass a little bit here. You ready for it?
Go ahead.
You're a goddamn hero. Just want to let you know that. You were.
Me?
Yeah, you.
What'd I do?
The way you stepped up for people, the way you were dropping off food, the way you were dropping off things for people who couldn't get out, who literally, if they were exposed to this, would have been dead in 5 minutes. People who I love very dearly among them.
The people I love too. It was a selfish act.
But it meant a lot. It meant a lot. And you found that flow. You were actually able to flow. Interestingly enough, the Category 1 hurricane, it unlocked the living coffin for you, and it unlocked it for me, and it unlocked it for a lot of people. And yet it also shoved a lot of people in it. So it had the paradoxical effect of doing both. So some people had an opportunity for their soul's energy to flow, and some felt bottled up. You and I were already bottled up in a weird way. This unlocked it and allowed us to flow. I had a live stream that I did during the pandemic. It's called Good News Fridays. I know, super original. Thankfully, nobody sued me. And it was all about, how do we bring a modicum of hope to a world that has completely lost it? And every week I'd find 3 pieces of good news in the fight to reclaim the world from the pandemic. So what are 3 pieces out there? And every week I'd comb everywhere to find them. But the news coverage was uniformly, everything is screwed. We're all dead meat and everything is horrible and it's going to get more horrible. And like that was all there was. I'm like, but there's 2 sides to every story, and there has to be some good news out there. And not like, listen, God loved Jim from The Office, great guy. He had his own good news video, but it was like, oh, somebody like had a cooking class with their cat. Like, I love cooking classes and I love cats as much as the next guy. But that doesn't do shit for me in the middle of a pandemic. Sorry. No, it's not moving the needle. I want to know when this thing is going to be over. And like making lasagna with your cat is not the roadmap to get me there. So I'm looking around and I can't find any content like this. You know what they say? If you can't find it, be it. So I'm like, all right, let me find it. And I literally comb the world. And every Friday, this is what gave me purpose and unlocked my flow, which was to bring 3 pieces of good news about, okay, so, piece of good news number 1 comes from Hungary this week, and case numbers are down 48%, which is up from down 31% last week. And at this pace over here by Labor Day, Hungary will be completely out of the woods and this and that. They're going to be reopening soccer stadiums. They're going to be reopening bars and restaurants. And like Hungary is going to get back to life. And I was finding stories like this, glimmers of hope in the midst of the shit. And that unlocked the flow. So I'm trying to think, in more recent times, like in the after times now, what have you found that's been able to unlock the flow for you when you've been on that ledge?
For me personally, it's goes back to that old adage, idle hands are the devil's playground. I personally literally need to keep my hands busy. So I've been buying lumber and I've been buying bookcases that need to be assembled and shelves. I've been installing shelves. So my house is just it's just full of bookcases and ladders and shelves. And when I have tools in my hands, I just, everything goes quiet in the best possible way. The ledge doesn't exist. I don't exist. It's okay. There's no voice that's putting you down. There's no voice telling you that you're not good enough. There's no voice telling you the wolves are at the door. There's none of that. It all stops and it's quiet. And it's so nice. It's so nice to finally have quiet and peace. And while I could be screwing, drilling, hammering, I could be making this actual noise, but in my head, it's just like beautiful, like soft hum. It's just nice.
Listen, screwing, drilling, hammering. You've told me enough about your exploits out in the wine tasting days in there.
Well, that was good too.
That's another way to unlock flow for our younger listeners. But I think Jenlin has it right. So Jenlin has the most amazing content out there, which is it's just creation. Like it's just pure creation and creativity. It's this thing I reposted today about how creation is so beautiful because it has all these different colors and expressions, like basically for the hell of it, like just cause. And like you look at like the 350,000 known types of beetles out there, which is wild. But there are people out there who think there may be millions we don't even know about. And they have all these different sheens and colors and patterns, and they don't need to have them evolutionarily. They don't need to. They don't need to survive. Like it's just, they did it just because it's colorful, because it's awesome, because they can. That's it. And this is the kind of content that Jen Lin puts out there all the time. It's this, I'm going to create expressions, not to impress anybody, and not because I feel like I have to. It's because I can, because I get to. And holy shit, what a great place of flow that is.
I've seen some of those beetles before, just whatever, National Geographics or internet, whatever. And they're beautiful. They're like this blue-green sheen that you can't even believe exists in nature. I mean, I know there's a whole different color, but the blue-green sheen one were the ones that stood out to me, like scarab beetles or something like that.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing. It's really wild looking at it. And there's all kinds of things out there like that too. I think when we can appreciate that, it's people say, well, will that get you off the ledge? Hell no. Like looking at a beetle's not going to get me off the ledge. But what it will do is allow me to appreciate a beautiful sunset while I'm on the ledge.
Yes, that's exactly correct.
And that's not nothing.
No. You know what? It just might be that thing that keeps you back for another minute or two. And it brings a little joy into your life too. It's not gonna, like you said, it's not gonna make, oh, well, I'm not doing it now, but it's like, you're gonna stop and admire this for a minute. And this is just awesome.
Yeah. And two things can be true at once. Two things are very often, almost always true at once, as it turns out. And, we don't, our brains don't love to hold space for that. We love to think in binaries. It's this or that, but it's almost never this and that, even though it almost always is this and that. And you can be, and there's so many folks out there who, and I'm not saying this to throw shade, I'm really not, a dead ass, who make being, I use it in air quotes, depressed, their entire personality. And it's not, again, no shade. And because I understand this place, I really do. But the problem is, from that perspective, if you make it something you are versus something you're experiencing, then everything gets filtered through that. And you can't even allow yourself to enjoy looking at an awesome beetle or enjoying a great sunset or enjoying a good drink or hot sex. You can't really enjoy it because the whole personality is like, I am depressed. Not I'm experiencing depression. I am depressed. Therefore, I cannot even allow myself to enjoy this, because if I do, I'm negating my identity as somebody who's depressed.
Yeah, I think that's also a misconception with a lot of people too. Like depressed people just walk around, with a black cloud and black clothing with a frown on their face. Not true at all.
Mm-mm.
Some of the funniest people you've met in your life could be incredibly depressed. They could have a plan to do it that night. They could have had a great joke. You could have had a great conversation, a great meal with them. But you just don't know.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of it. It's a rich experience in a lot of ways. So I think we shit on it a lot. It's don't be depressed, take a pill. What if, since this one universe, source, God, singularity, Cleveland, whatever you want to call it, exploded out and wanted to experience itself in every form, shape, color, expression. If it did that, then how could depression, or again, mental illness, all air quotes here, or being on the ledge, how could that be a bug instead of a feature? Isn't that the point? Doesn't it want to experience its own existential angst? I mean, isn't that interesting from that perspective? I don't know if it's interesting. What do you think?
I think it's interesting.
It's not interesting at all. That's fine. I got
no. I think it is interesting, but I think you're supposed to get remember they used to send you the AOL CDs? I'm dating myself now, but remember you get the AOL CD in the mail? You get a month of AOL. I think that was depression's intention. I think you were supposed to get a trial CD of depression in the mail. You do it for a month. You're like, all right. And then, maybe, it's not for me right now. I'm not going to do that right now, but that was an interesting experience. Sometimes I think people unknowingly subscribe to it, or it becomes something like you go beyond the trial version, and you're like, oh, I didn't realize I paid for a year up front, and now it's like shit. Now I'm in this trench, this rut, this whatever you want to call it, and it's like, yeah, no, I don't like this. No, thank you. No, thank you. I don't want that. Like, no, you paid for a year up front, so you're going to get the service. You can't turn it off. You can't stop it. This is your service. You paid for it up front. Like, no, I don't want it. Keep it. Keep the money. I don't want it. Just stop. Like, nope. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. No refunds. No takebacks.
It reminds me of the old expression, what we resist persists. And the more we resist these feelings of, again, air quotes, depression, mental illness, the more we resist it, the more we say, no, I'm not allowed to feel this. I can't feel this. I'm supposed to be happy. I'm supposed to be joyful. I'm supposed to be all this. I'm supposed to be shit and rainbows. I'm not supposed to be feeling this way. then it looks back at you again as like, as the God source, as the Godhead, it coming to experience and saying, the hell, you're not supposed to experience this. I chose you to experience this through. How dare you look me in the eye and say, no, this is not okay. I didn't come here to sit on you like some stink you can't get off. And that happens if you've been to Yonkers, but I didn't come here to sit on you forever. I came here for you to experience it so I can experiencing it through you and then move through. And then once it's moved through, the sun shines again. And then once the sun shines again, you're like, this is fantastic. And you know, I never would have appreciated how fantastic this is unless I had just gone through that. But now that I went through that, and now I'm grateful I did, now I can experience how beautiful this is. And that's why, okay, I get it now. That's why I experienced it. But if you say, no, I'm not allowed to experience it. I can't experience it. I can't. Good vibes only. Good vibes only. Then it says, no, asshole, I came here to be experienced and felt. And then it's never going to leave you.
It's part of the package. And you know what? The good vibes only people creep me the fuck out. And you could take that with a grain of salt, say I'm wrong, whatever. The good vibes people, what is that? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's some people out there, they mean it, they believe it. It's there's nothing more to it. But more often than not, maybe it's just where we grew up. If somebody's all about that like super happy, joy, good vibe energy, there's some creepy twisted angle and it's not good.
No, it's like running from something. It's there was this woman that a mutual friend of ours. He worked at the union in Queens, and there was this woman who showed up every single day, every day, and every morning. She came in with a big shit-eating grin on her face, and she said, "I love my job." And then she went to her desk, and everybody knew she hated her job. It was the worst running gag, But is that toxic positivity of like, I love my job. And if she kept thinking that if she said it enough, she'd start to love it. She hated it. I'd hate it too if I worked there. No shade on her. This is a great comment here from Jen Lynn. Society scowls at duality as if we aren't capable of feeling the entire universe every second of our life. What do you make of that?
I love it. I think it's very true. If, like you said, you could be in the midst of a real bad bout of depression, and then you see this beetle, and like you said, it's not gonna drastically alter the entire experience that you have going on at the moment. But you're gonna stop for a second. You'd be like, "That's a pretty cool beetle. That coloring, that shading, wow, that is awesome. Nature's awesome."
Yeah.
All right. Well, back to the bathtub with the toaster. It's a nice it's a nice, pleasant interruption into that otherwise, runaway train of unpleasantness that just goes through your brain.
It really is. Yeah. Toxic. Get the hello back with the good vibes only. I mean, really, what is good vibes only bullshit? What is this? Where did this come from?
Yeah, I agree with Jen Lynn. Yeah, it just doesn't sit right. It feels disingenuous. It feels like creepy car salesman-y. It's not human. That's what it really is. It's not human. People that are all joy, something's off. If it works for you, God bless. But I've never met anybody that was truly 100% joy, and there wasn't something off or something like sinister in the motives behind it. Because real people have real life, and real life has cuts and bruises and bumps and scrapes. And it's, sometimes they're emotional bumps and bruises and scrapes. Sometimes they're physical. Sometimes you wake up and your wife's with the mailman. Things happen, and it's just, today might not be a joy day.
It might not be. And, but there might be moments of joy in the not joy day.
Absolutely.
And that's the paradox of the whole thing. It's, I always think the people who have the good vibes only disposition, they're hiding their own darkness. They can't bring their own darkness to light. So they It's like that episode of The Simpsons where remember they like sweeping stuff under the rug and like the rug looked like an ocean after a while, like the waves
Yes.
and it's kind of like that. Like they're sweeping all their shit under the rug, all the darkness, but it's not going anywhere, and it's only getting bigger. It's only like metastasizing as it goes. So ultimately, it's getting worse. And you know, it reminds me of that scene in Training Day. Great movie where Denzel Washington's talking about the bribes that all the guys are taking. There's a lot of cash out there, and he's looking at Ethan Hawke, the rookie, and Ethan Hawke's this real straight-laced rookie, this cop who was writing traffic tickets in the valley, but now he's downtown and he wants to get in the grit. And he said, "Here, take something." He's like, "Nah, I can't." He's like, "No, come on." He's like, "No, really, I can't. It's what are we doing? We're cops. We can't do that." He said, "Listen, the guys will feel a lot better if you take something. The guys will feel a little better about it." It's like, can you really trust the guy who doesn't have a little bit of dirt on him? And I'm not advocating that the cops steal money from the citizenry, but different conversation. But it's the same idea of you don't have a little bit of dirt on you. You don't have a little bit of an edge. That gets me more concerned than somebody who looks like they're going to cut me. A lot more concerned. Now, I know you have a lot of proximity with somebody you think might cut you every day.
Yeah. It's a person with their own demons that I try to keep their head above water, but somebody that just, and it's not a depression thing. It's not that. I mean, keep their head above water, just financially, just a little here and there, just to boost things. They don't really have an issue with depression. They have some substance issues. Actually, that's their thing, and that's their choice. And I say that because I've known this person for several years now, and she does not want to not do that. And I've presented many options, just not something that she wants to do. And if it's not, that's not something I can change. I've offered several different options, and she chose not to do that. So I have to either accept that or not deal with the person any further. And at this juncture, I'm still dealing with them. So it's interesting. That's for sure.
Well, I think she has a great gift in being proximate to you, I should say, in the work environment, because you're not throwing shade. You're not giving her a lecture, and you're not saying your continued employment is conditioned upon it. It's none of that. It's just, okay, it's your life. You do you. Ultimately, this is your choice, and there are circumstances that were out of your control that brought you to the point of substance use and abuse, and that happens to people, and no one's throwing shade for how you got here. Where you go from here is ultimately your call, and if you want to stay here, okay, that's your choice too. Like, it's not my place to tell you what you got to do with your life. That's your place. I'm just here to hold that space for you, not here to enable you or encourage you and say, yeah, that's great, yeah, shoot up again. Like, not much of a friend doing that, but just like, okay, I see you. That's it.
Yeah, it's a safe space for a conversation, and there's a dialogue. If you want to talk about, going a different path, I'm here for that. I don't know much about that world, so I can't really, can't really have a lot of banter with you back and forth about that world because I don't know that world other than what I've known from her. But I'll do what I can to help you, and ultimately, it's your choice. Still, like so many things in life, if you truly don't want to do something, or you do want to do something, you will or you won't. No one's going to make you do it. Just like no one's going to make you jump off that ledge. That's something that's been knocking around in your head for a long, long time. Just because there was no cheese on your Whopper today, that's not going to be the reason. It's like, nope, that's it. I was holding on great, and then I didn't get that cheese. Well, fuck it, I'm out. Now, someone might see it from the outside who's never been there and say, oh, that's what it was. If only there'd been cheese on the Whopper. No, it was divorce 3 years ago. You know, it was losing your job 6 years ago. It was losing a parent 8 years ago. You know, it was those things. It was a rolling boulder, like the boulder from Indiana Jones, just rolling down towards you, towards you, towards you, trying to roll over you. And it just coincided with the cheese not being on the Whopper, but that wasn't the reason.
That's the stiff gust of wind. It's because you're already on the ledge. Like, get the pinky. You got the pinky on the ledge, and the cheese is just that last gust. It's like, you know what? The pinky has lost the will to hold on. If you can't even get the cheese right, and that's what it really is. And I've been in that place so many times. And I honestly, just being dead ass, I don't know what kept the pinky on the ledge. I don't. Because it was those little moments of, if I can't even get this right, because everything else is awry. Everything else is awry, and made my energy. And for me, it was making my energy feel trapped. That's always what brought me there, when I felt like I was in any kind of a state of flow. And it didn't even have to be like things were going great, like objectively. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I was first starting my business, I didn't have a feeling like things were going great, because they weren't. I wasn't making dick. I had no clients. I was knocking on doors and getting them slammed in my face. It's how it goes. But I didn't feel that, because I was very, very much in my purpose. I was flowing. I was flowing into what I was building, and I was creating. When you're in that mode of creation, like you said, with the woodwork and everything, and Jen Lin and all of her designs, when you're in that mode of creation, the ledge can't touch you. It can't. And yet, when you're there and you're not flowing, and everything feels dammed up, like truly dammed up, you want one thing to flow. Just one thing. Your energy is like screaming, give me one goddamn thing to flow and go right. Just one thing. And like, if you can't even get the cheese right, then what am I even doing anymore?
You start to feel like the universe hates you.
Yeah.
Whether it does or doesn't, the material, you start to feel that way. And this whole experience is in your mind. So when people say, oh, don't let it bother you, I can't let it, if I could not let things bother me, I wouldn't have been on the ledge in the first place. None of these things that brought us to where we are would have been here if I didn't let things bother me. That's just who I am. I can't turn it off. I've tried therapy, I've tried medication. It doesn't just turn it off. And if you're one of those people who can turn it off, that's amazing. I love that for you. If you could teach me how to do it, please do. I've spoken to religious men. I've spoken to doctors. I've spoken to lawyers. I've spoken to homeless junkies. I've spoken to pretty much all walks of life, and try to see if there's something I could do that I'm not doing. Look at things from a way that I'm not looking at them, to just change my way of thinking, to remove the parts of me that I don't like. But it's part of the whole. It's as somebody I know likes to say, it's baked into the cake. It's hard. You can't just take it out. So you have to learn how to, like you say, flow with it. You have to learn how to work with it. I just quite haven't figured that out yet. And coming up on 2 decades of trying to figure it out, and it ain't going all that well.
No, and I think at the end of the day, what it really comes down to more than anything else is just, it's nervous system dysregulation. And that gets ingrained from a young age, and that compounds and compounds and compounds, because you develop all these mechanisms just to survive. You and I have talked about this many times. Jules and I grew up in an area where, if you've only been mugged a dozen times, by the time you're 15, count yourself lucky.
Doing so well at that point.
You're killing it. Like you're real. People think we're bullshitting. No.
Legit.
So imagine this now. You have, these kids, these young kids who are just walking home from school, and their nervous systems get wired to exist in a war zone, because you just don't know where the next threat is coming from. And it's very much a life or death threat, because You don't know if the one who gets a hold of you that day has deeper intentions than just ripping you off. Sometimes a rip off with a beatdown. Sometimes a rip off and a slashing, which was real big in the 90s when we were coming up back then.
Yeah.
That? Slashings were crazy.
Yeah, that was very, very common occurrence.
Sometimes you get the guns and you don't know what their intentions are there. And like we knew classmates of ours who were gunned down just walking home from school just because they were juicy targets. And it's one thing you're gonna be traumatized as an adult dealing with that, but as a kid, that is going to inform how you move through the whole world for the rest of your life.
You may lose your shoes, you may lose your jacket, you may lose your life. You don't know. It's it will I don't want to say screw you up, but I can't come up with a better analogy right now. It will screw you up for the rest of your life. You will have safety issues, you will have trust issues. You'll want to always have that back seat in the diner with your back against the wall with view of the windows, the emergency exits. It will change you.
Yeah. And then ultimately you spend so many years in that survival mode from that PTSD, CPTSD, where, you really have to work hard to open your heart again after that. Really hard. It is not natural at all. You become highly closed off, highly suspicious of everybody. And it filters everything, every experience you have. And it filters it from people you see on the street to romantic relationships, to family relationships. Everything becomes hostile because your nervous system evolved to protect you in it. Because if your nervous system had not evolved to protect you, the 35 times you were mugged would have been 300 times.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have had any spatial awareness at all, any situational awareness at all. And that's what protected you. So, but it doesn't know to turn that off when you're an adult and you're in an office or when you're in a relationship with somebody. It doesn't know like, okay, person I'm in a relationship with probably not going to mug me. It doesn't know that. Now, they did mug you. That's a whole different conversation.
Just leave the money on the dresser. They won't mug you.
No, that's just Staten Island for you.
But you're right. It does. It colors all your experiences, and it makes things harder. It makes relationships harder. It makes life harder. It makes work harder. Just makes everything harder. And when you have that, and then you have anxiety, depression, whatever else is nervous system dysregulation, as you called it. You can't relate to a normal person, and they can't relate to you. The way you explain things to them, it makes you sound insane. I say you, me, everybody like us.
The universal you.
You, yes.
Yeah. And then I think at some point you have that, your nervous system gets overwhelmed because every time it has to work extra hard just to keep you safe in a different situation. That's just, like you said, it's more shit that gets tacked onto it. Can we add any more shit? It's more that gets tacked on. It's not like you keep a baseline. It's just more that gets stacked on. And it's like a computer that just starts running too hot after a while. And at no point does it have a chance to truly reboot. And you're not clearing any of the programs. You're not clearing anything from the hard drive. So you don't have the storage capacity anymore. And it just runs hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter. And then eventually all it takes is that one link you click on and then crashes out. Which is the cheeseburger. That's it. That's what the cheeseburger is. It's that one extra tab you open up. It's that one extra link that you click that just crashes out the whole damn computer. And then people look at it and say, what a piece of shit computer it is. It was just the one tab. That's it.
Yeah. From the outside, it's never under the depths are never really understood. It's just, I opened one file. What the fuck? How could it crash from that? You didn't forget that the fan was operating at 1,000 miles an hour for the last 6 years. That had nothing to do with it, right?
Without ever being turned off, by the way, because this haunts you in your waking hours and it haunts you in your sleeping hours. It doesn't leave you. Your nervous system is working hard when you're sleeping because all this imagery is coming into your dreams.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You wake up and your jaw hurts and you don't know why. You go to the dentist. He says, "You've been grinding your teeth a lot." You go, "I don't grind my teeth." He goes, "Oh, you must do it in your sleep. That's why you ground down your teeth because you thought you were sleeping. You were escaping for things." Nope. And that's if you can get to sleep in the first place.
That's a big, big if. That is not always a guarantee, especially with this this type of dysregulation. Now, there's good people out there who are doing good work with nervous system re-regulation, and a lot of people are doing it through somatic therapy. A lot of people are doing it through psychedelics. So there are ways through this. None of them are easy. None of them are cheap, and they all take time. But they're out there, which is cool because this was not always the case. We lived in a world where, many, many, many years ago, you just get burned as a witch. And then once they got a little bit more civilized, they just started calling you really nice names like, head case and space cadet and, nut job and all the rest of them.
And that's if they didn't drill a hole in your head to give you, well, that's trepanning. I'm talking lobotomy. If they didn't take an ice pick in your eye socket just to give you a lobotomy and make you nice and quiet, get all the bad voices out.
Yeah, or Junior Soprano say, "He's a depression case, my nephew."
Yeah.
A depression case.
That's if and that's putting it mildly and nicely.
Oh, for Tony, absolutely. And yet he was such an interesting character because, I think, tell me what you think, because, you and I are huge Sopranos fans. I think Tony was a sympathetic character, not because he was the protagonist of the show, and not even because he was like an anti-hero, which he really wasn't. He wasn't a real hero in any sense of the word, but it was a show about middle-aged angst. And you got to see it and experience it through his eyes. And all you saw was a guy who was handed something he didn't really ask for. He just got handed it and a lot of responsibility. And he's surrounded on all sides by people who do nothing but make his life unnecessarily more difficult.
Yeah. And he was doing his best. He was trying to balance a family life and a home life. And no, he was doing what most people do, actually. He was trying to self-medicate with alcohol, with womanizing, with gambling. These are all common self-medication methods for people that are having some deep emotional crisis.
Absolutely. So we see a lot of ourselves in him, and everybody has their own way of self-medicating through it. And this was his way. And he got condemned for it. And everybody always gets condemned for the self-medicating, but beneath all the self-medication, there's some stuff going on. There's some stuff that it's in that carpet, that floating carpet, and it's trying to come up. You're like, nope, and you're stomping it down. You stomp it down. You stomp it down through the booze and through the drugs and through the sex and through everything else. You're stomping it down. Like, no, you don't get to come out.
It's just not something you're ready to deal with. But you know what? It's going to come up one way or another. That carpet's going to burst. Something's going to happen one way or another. And not saying it's going to be the reason you take a leap, but it might be the reason you have like a full what they used to call nervous breakdown. Where you just lose your shit. You can't function. You can't talk. You don't want to bathe. You're like, I can't see anybody. I can't leave bed. I just can't.
There's a word for that. And we call it jackicide.
Yes.
Jackicide is named after a dear compatriot of ours who is still technically alive. Is that fair to say? Technically. Clinically.
In the most strictest literal sense.
He's breathing on his own, and he walks on his own, and he talks on his own, eats on his own. If he's eating, I don't know if he's still eating, dresses himself on the days he wants to do that. And this is somebody who committed what we've termed jackicide, which is the living death, which is I've just quit. I'm done. But I'm not going to leap off the ledge. I'm just going to, it's going to be done while I'm still like having all of the corporeal functions of a human body. And well, what do you say to somebody who's made the decision to go full jackicide?
You know what? I would say not. You know, I'd say there are better options out there. Whatever those options may be is a very personal choice. But yeah, the living death, not a fan. I dabbled in it myself. I didn't go full on, but I dabbled a little bit, and yeah, it's to this day, it's still one of the darkest, probably the darkest chapter in my life, and it's not something I ever wish to experience again, because there are things to experience, to enjoy, to there are shiny, pretty beetles out there, you know.
There are. I had a not full blown, but I would say nominally jackicidal episode last fall, culminating in the death of our friend last fall, and that hit me harder than I thought it would. Honestly,
Really?
yeah, it really did. And you know, Jen Lynn, I love you. Thank you. You know, I was supposed to do a program for her and this big thing that she put on, and I was not in a headspace to do it. I was really grieving him very, very seriously. And she was very, very kind about it and gave me all the space I needed. And like, it's okay, we're good. And frankly, I've never dealt with a person before who's had that level of grace for somebody going through that. It's mostly just, you know, deal with it, suck it up, you know. But no, it was a really beautiful act of grace, and I very much appreciate it. But I was really mourning our friend. I really was. And I was surprised it hit me as hard as it did. Because sometimes it's people like that, they're the background wallpaper. And when the wallpaper's ripped off, as funky as the wallpaper was, and you know, it's still destabilizing.
Yeah, it was a loss. He was definitely an interesting person, but he just wasn't anybody you ever anticipated hearing. Yeah, well, there's nothing we could do. He's gone.
Not at that age. Definitely not at that
No.
age.
You know what? I couldn't see him going at any age. He wasn't that type of person. Could see him just 112, just going to let hands, just enjoying himself.
Yeah. And then going to the casino and doing whatever he did down there too. And
Yeah.
with whomever. God love him. God rest his soul. I really think of him, and I think, you know, in so many ways, and we can be frank, he was the butt of a lot of people's jokes.
He was.
And yet
But
he lived.
He was also in a lot of people's hearts, because I know for a fact, having been to his funeral, my funeral will have far, far less attendance, if anybody. He packed the house. People were spilling out into the street.
He lived in such a way which engendered that, because he, you know, and he went a little nuts toward the end, but happened to the best of us. But even in the midst of that breakdown, he was still in his own kind of weird, unique flow state, where
Yeah.
he had his bar and he had his friends and he had his thing, and you know, he had his habits and his hobbies and all that, and it was great. He was still in that flow state, despite the fact that he was completely coming unglued toward the end. And I never remember him being actually on the ledge. Do you?
No, that wasn't his thing. He wasn't a happy, joy person. He was a realistic person. He was like, he had his highs, his lows. He had things that would make him inexplicably angry, things that make him inexplicably joyful. But no, he was not a ledge person by any stretch of the imagination.
I think he lived too presently to be that. Because you can't live presently and be on the ledge at the same time. You know, they say never the twain shall meet. If you're on the ledge, it's because you're mentally stuck in the past or in the future. Because even if you're going through some shit, and I've heard people push back on this, say, well, no, you're there because of the shit you're going through. Is it not exactly? I know it seems that way, but what you're really doing is like you're really there on the ledge because the shit you're going through, you're extrapolating out into the shit that's going to take you, where
Yeah.
it's going to lead you to. Because even if you're going through the shit, if you know for a fact that it's going to get better and you are completely confident in that situation turning around for the better, you're not going to be on the ledge. You're going to say, yeah, this sucks. It's terrible, but I'll get through it. But if you don't think that sun is going to come up again behind the clouds, then yeah, that's what brings you to the ledge. It's because you don't think the sun is coming up and now you're living in the future.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. He was a very in the present person. He could reminisce about the past, but he didn't dwell on it.
He really didn't. And he reminisced in like a fun way. And, he had a real way of bringing you back to really fun moments in your own life, moments that you have forgotten all about, that never crossed your mind consciously.
He also didn't hyper focus on the future, so he didn't worry about what would happen.
Yeah, he lived for the moment,
Yeah.
God love him. He lived for the moment, and that had its ups and its downs for sure. The
Yeah, he
bullet
took
that
it.
he dodged. Frankly, anybody who's watching out there, you have a friend who they partake in some activities and you just scratch your head sometimes. You wonder, how the hell is this person still alive? That was him. I don't know. I don't know how he did it. And I loved him for it. Truly.
Oh, absolutely.
Loved him for it. I still love him. I'll always love him for it. I love him for everything. I loved him, and I love him for just the fact that he was him. That's it. Not for anything he did, anything he said, just for him being him. I mean, what an interesting and unique expression of the universe to decide to be that. What a way of exploring itself,
Yeah, and overall, I think he did bring a lot of goodness to people's lives. I can't say maybe the odd person here and there would say he didn't enhance their lives in one way or another, but in general, without really doing much, he definitely enhanced people's lives.
I feel like I was better for knowing him, but not because he was any kind of a classic, sage, but it was just because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for someone, I really believe, aside from legitimately helping them out when they're in dire straits, which is the most powerful thing you can do for someone. But the second most powerful thing, in my own view, what the hell do I know, is to just see them for who and what they are and just love them for who and what they are and have no expectation or demand that they change or be anything other than exactly who and what they are. And just give them that space to just be that exactly. And he did that for everybody. Like, he was never somebody to lecture you on like what you need to be doing, how you need to be living your life. You're not doing this. He didn't give a shit. He didn't care.
Nah. And he also never tried to impress anybody. That was pretty cool.
He was him. He liked what he liked. He did what he did. He went where he went. And that's why so many people loved him and showed up to his funeral, because there was a real appreciation for that. It was like, yeah, you know what? Good on him. Good on him. I wish I could do that. And yeah, there was a butt of a lot of jokes. A lot of the stuff was a little out there. And yet I think, what do you think? I think beneath the jokes, there was some deep sense of envy too.
There was envy because he could just be uniquely himself. And that's something we'd all like to be, but societal pressure, familial pressure, whatever you want to call it, just we all end up becoming something maybe parallel to who we wish to be, but not quite who we wish to be.
Yeah.
And he just was who he wished to be, and that was it. He didn't give a shit.
And I think there's so much beauty to that, because guys like that, they don't end up on the ledge. They don't. And that's an interesting thing to keep an eye on and take a look at. They don't end up on that ledge. And we're not even saying ending up on the ledge is bad. So if you end up on the ledge, you end up on the ledge. That's, again, the universe wanted to do that, and it chose you as the vessel to do it. C'est la vie. There you are.
Yeah. Just wasn't his thing. That's all.
Wasn't his thing. And that's okay. And honestly, we wouldn't even know what, again, the air quotes, good mental health looks like unless we had people on the ledge to create that contrast.
Well, it's like you can't have the light without the dark.
Absolutely. And you know what? I've had a lot of light in the past 18 years, a lot of light. And I've been blessed with a lot of really, really good stuff, a lot of amazing moments, amazing people in my life, you being one of them.
Thank you.
Other people who are watching this will be watching this in replay. And I'm very grateful for it, truly. And that has all been shoots of very bright light against a very dark backdrop. And yet those moments I've savored so much more than I would have, so much more, had I not been mired in the darkness. It's the darkness that has made these moments with all of you as beautiful as they've been. I wouldn't trade it for a damn thing. You gave me a chance to go back on that plane with you to Vegas 18 years ago. Not changing a damn thing. If you give me a chance to say, from this point forward, you're never going to experience depression, you're not going to want to jump, would you take it? Knowing what I know now, said not a chance in hell. Nope. But that's not for everybody. If you were given that, if you were given that 18 years ago, what would your answer be? Just curious.
Yeah, I'd probably take it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Just to see what something else would be like, right?
Something else. And you know what? Yeah, I'm not exactly married to this. No disrespect to you. I'm glad we have our friendship, our relationship. Love you. And I think it would still be there. Might be a little different, but I think it would still be there. So I don't feel like I'm undoing anything major. But yeah, I'd like to see what it would have been like, what I could have accomplished, what I could have done had I not been, a child of the darkness.
It would have been different. I mean, who knows, right? And there's, that's the cool thing about it. I don't necessarily believe there's like a better or worse path to take. I think there's just what you do and just what happens. And you create meaning with it, whatever it is. And, I think about, I was blocked on, I was telling you, I was blocked on Substack the other day for this guy writing about this person he saw who jumped and how much it messed him up and how a win for him would have been the person not jumping. And I understand that. I get it. And somebody jumping creates great pain for people left behind. Jen Lin, partner 14 years ago. That was that. And I can only imagine the pain that costs. So it does cause incredible pain. We're not denying that. You and I have never denied that. We know that. We know that.
Absolutely.
We never minimized it either. And yet I feel like nobody ever tells the side of the story from the person who jumped, which is, if the win was that they didn't jump and it saved other people the pain, what cost does that come at for the person who didn't jump? Because whatever brought them to that ledge, still sitting on them. It's not going anywhere. How bad does it get for them? I mean, do they become jackacidal? Do they endure the living death because they crash, but they don't jump because they don't want to cause pain, but they just crash anyways? Is that a win?
They took the leap emotionally, but not physically.
Yeah. And at that point, I mean, real talk, what are they sticking around for? I mean, really, if you're making that decision to commit jackacidal, that living death, where you say, listen, I'm not going to jump because, I got people to support and people love me and they don't, okay, great. If you have that moral compass to say, I don't want to inflict that pain, first of all, good on you. Shows that you have a heart truly and you care about others. But if you're not going to allow the experience to move through you and you're going to sit in it, and we know what becomes of people who sit in that. Is that a win? Does that mean we succeeded? Because the entire suicide prevention industry that's the win. How do you see it?
If they've never been there, they can't see where you're coming from. They just see it as this, this mental disorder and, something to be eradicated and, do whatever they can to just, I don't know. They can't understand it. I guess that's my point.
And, if you can't understand it, you try to numb it. And just, the whole thing is built around the idea of numbing it, finding coping mechanisms. And they say, your existing coping mechanisms aren't good. They're not good. So drinking is not good. Drugs are not good. Porn is not good. Scrolling is not good. Whoring around, not good. Don't do these things. Bad coping mechanisms. Instead, go for a run. Eat a salad. Find God. Do all these different things. But it's still not addressing what got you there. You can eat a salad and go for a run and find God and still be on the damn roof. I think it's just creating more rooftop sunsets. And again, those are beautiful. But if the goal is to bring you down from the roof to a lower floor where a hurricane is not going to blow you off the roof and you're not going to jump, that ain't it. It can't be by necessity, because none of those things are getting to the reason why you're on the roof. That nervous system hardwiring is what got you up there. And unless you're going to talk about rewiring it, getting into the guts of the machine, then everything else, we're just putting lipstick on pigs here. Don't get me wrong, Miss Piggy looked fantastic with lipstick. Hats off to her.
It's a beautiful woman.
Gorgeous. But what are we doing here? Is that the solution? What do you say to people who tell you that? Like, just do these different things and you'll be fine.
I've been told that plenty of times in my life. Go for a walk. Like, I did that. That didn't undo fear of losing my job this week. It didn't undo the terror of seeing police officer at my door this week. It didn't undo it. I'm sorry. I'm just not one of those people that it just fixed everything for. It's went for a walk, went to the park, looked at a lake in the park, looked at the ducks. It was nice. The problem was still there.
Yeah, because all you're doing, you're going from the ledge to the interior of the roof, but you're still on the damn roof.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it'll get you out of, I hate to even use the term imminent danger, but sure, let's go with that. Let's speak the language they all speak for the purposes of the discussion, right? They call it danger. I call it a choice. Fine. Whatever you want to call it. Danger, whatever it is. It'll get you off the ledge, but you're still on the damn roof. You're still on the roof. Now, this brings us to a piece we saw this week about New York. And by the way, they just passed the legislation a few days ago in the assembly. So we talked about it before it got passed. So breaking news, it's going to Kathy Hochul's desk to sign, which would be the most liberal, open, assisted suicide law in the entire country, where there's no waiting period and the barrier to entry is really, really low. And if you want to call it a day, the state of New York says, step right up like a carny in Coney Island.
So it actually passed?
It passed the legislature. Now it's going to the governor's desk, and she's getting lobbied on all sides about this right now. And she's been very weird about it. She hasn't given any direct comments about it. So I think she might be a little torn on this, which is disappointing, but it is what it is.
If she signs it, is that it? Or there's more beyond that?
It's done. It's law. She signs it. It's the law of the land.
Fascinating.
It is. It is. I'm reading a piece about it right now. She said she's not indicated if she will sign the New York bill. Her office only says she's reviewing the legislation. Currently, 11 other states and DC have laws that allow medically assisted suicide. And the group that's pushing it, the campaign director, said they recognize the importance of it to give, people who are terminally ill the autonomy they deserve over end-of-life experiences. And it's really wild that this is even a debate, isn't it? It's wild.
It's wild because we're at the heart, we're a religious country. That's why.
Yeah.
And most religions, not all, but the bulk of them, they condemn punching your own ticket.
Yep.
It's seen as the big no-no. It's up there with murder and all the other good things.
Yeah.
So that's why it's not from a reason of belief or understanding or people suffering. It's just because the cloud man said it was bad, and 8,000 years ago, and that's why.
You know what's so interesting about it?
What's that?
Most interesting thing about it? There's no actual admonition against it anywhere biblically.
I see. I didn't know that for a fact. I believed it was just because the people who generally say you can't do it are people quoting the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, whatever.
There's no actual admonition against it. It has been interpreted as such because it says, "Thou shalt not commit murder." So what they've done is they've taken that and they've extended it to thyself. They say, if you do it to yourself, it's murder. That is a very, very nebulous and debatable point. And if you consider self-murder to be murder, then sure. But it says nothing about self-murder. It actually says nothing about it. And if you look at, sages and prophets, there's a lot of instances of it, actually. So it's very fascinating how, people who are literalists are taking things and kind of stretching it to fit an argument where, and this has been debated, people blue in the face, but the most interesting thing to me truly is that we have less compassion for our relatives than we do for our pets. And that's truly the wild part to me. And you experienced a very good friend suffering and dying recently. And I know you've seen this up close and personal.
Yeah, that's true. And she very, very much wanted to opt for hospice. And she was told on multiple occasions that was not an option, even though she had stage 4 cancer. And she was very upset about that.
If you'd taken your dog in with stage 1 cancer, even before the dog was truly beginning to suffer, there isn't a vet in the world that would hesitate to put the dog down. Not one. They would all say, you know what? Pup had a good run. Will be fondly, fondly remembered. Will be missed. Will be revered. And they put that beautiful animal out of its suffering. But the human, psh, screw you. We have at least 200-300K worth of Medicare to milk out of you before this is all said and done. The hell you're living. The hell you are.
Yeah, so much more. Probably in the area of a few million.
Yeah. And for how long? 5 months. Go $2.5 million worth of care for 5 months, and it will be a 5.5 months that the people enduring it would rather be in a North Korean prison.
That's the thing. If they don't want to be here, but you're forcing them to be here, and there's little to no hope of getting better, who's it for?
Good question. It's a good question. I think we're gradually moving to a more compassionate place as a society around that question, which is nice, which is refreshing, which is pleasantly surprising, might I add. But it comes back to the idea that, we love to tell people your life is yours. Your life is yours to live. Do what you want. Be what you want. Go where you want. Think independently. Pursue your greatest passions and your greatest joy. And then they turn around and say, okay, well, this is what I want to do. The hell you are. You're not doing that. But you just said, yeah. You're not doing that. Well, why not? You said I could do whatever I want. But it contradicts my values, so you can't do it. Well, wait a second. You just said I should live by my values. Yes, I did. So I'm living by my values. This is what I want to do. But you can't do it because it contradicts my values. And then back in the loop we go. You can do whatever you want as long as it doesn't contradict the one thing that I don't think you can plausibly do. Because it runs afoul of my own value system. Ergo, you're not allowed to do it. Period. You can't do it. It's not happening. Not happening. And, it's one thing if people end up, and I'm a firm advocate that everybody has the right to believe whatever they want to believe. I'm not a big fan of thought police. Never have been. There were thought police. Talk about a North Korean prison, pal, I'd be in decades ago. But if you want to believe that somebody is going to hell or they're going to be condemned eternally for doing it, great. Awesome. You have every single right to believe that. And I will not tell you you're wrong. Because for all I know, you might be right. The hell do I know? I mean, really, right? What the hell do I know? You could be right. It might be true. It's possible. Anything's possible. And there's probably a universe out there. There's some dimension out there where that is true. Maybe you're tapping into that. Cool. But in a shared reality, your belief can't become my reality. Just can't. The same way my belief can't become yours. My belief is that we should never, ever, ever allow Police Academy Mission to Moscow to ever run and ever air. Ever. That's my belief. That's my value system. I don't have the right to tell HBO Max he can't do it. I can't. And I won't. But I can think it, and I do, because that movie is an abomination. So you can think somebody who ends their own suffering at their own hand is going to burn in eternal torment. You have every right to believe that, and God bless you for believing it. And once again, you might even be right. But your beliefs end where my rights begin, and my autonomy begins, and my destiny begins. So that's the long-winded way of saying, stay the hell out of my life and death decisions, will you?
My body, my choice.
My body, my choice. My body, my choice. And everyone loves that until they don't. I'll say this. I stand by that across the board. You name the issue. If it comes down to personal autonomy, I am falling on the sword of my body, my choice for all the things like, if I want to inject myself with glue because I don't like to sniff it anymore because, I got a sinus thing. Don't tell me I can't inject myself with glue. My body, my choice. Period. That's it. And that's how the horse would have wanted to go. Well, on that beautiful note, Jules, my dear friend, I want to thank you for this. Truly.
My pleasure. Always good to talk to you.
This has meant the world. And we're going to jump back on next week, same time, same bat channel. Anybody who's still hanging around, who's watching, lurking, whatever, we see you. If you're on that ledge right now, maybe you haven't told anybody about it. Maybe you're keeping this to yourself. Maybe you're walking around that rooftop, looking around the sunsets and saying, one gust of wind and I'm out of here. No, on this show, with these two schmucks right here, you're not going to get any judgment. Are they going to get any judgment from us, Jules?
Nah, not a bit.
We see you. We love you. We're here for you. And if you ever want to talk about it anonymously, create an account, come hang out with us in the live chat. And just know you're not alone. You're definitely not alone. If you're on that ledge, you are not alone. And you're not broken. You're not crazy. You're not deranged. You're not a depression case. You just are. And you're perfect just as you are. You're on that damn ledge right now, hanging on by your pinky nail. Good enough. Good enough. That's where you're supposed to be right now. and love it. Lean into it. Until next week, friends.